Hello, people of SourceFed Nerd. My name is John Green. I wrote the book, The Fault in Our Stars, and I wish to thank you for reading it and for discussing it. I hope that you liked it, but I won't be mad if you didn't. I'll be a little mad. I won't be mad. Anyway, as we say in my hometown of Nerdfighteria, don't forget to be awesome. Thank you again.
Hey, thanks, John Green, for giving us that amazing intro to SourceFed Book Club.
I'm now deeply in love.
With John Green?
I always have been, I feel.
Yeah, he's adorable. Welcome to SourceFed Book Club, you guys, the show where we read books and then talk about them on this show. Or, if you don't have time to read, we use the Audible. So go to audible.com/sfnerd and get yourself a free book on us so you can participate in the next episode of Book Club, which will be The Hobbit.
Oh,
spoilers.
I've heard of it. This episode, we listened to The Fault in Our Stars, a book by the wonderful and amazing John Green.
It's about two star-crossed lovers dealing with love in the world of cancer.
I had never read this before, obviously. You had read it before.
I read it once before, loved it, and then
you
this
listened to
Audible. Then I listened to it. This is the first book that I've ever listened to. So, it was definitely a very different experience and an enjoyable one, and a really nice refresher. So before we give you guys our thoughts on the book, I mean, we're both pretty happy with our experience with it. We want to see what you guys thought.
Yeah.
Very well written book. Touches on a lot of aspects of life with cancer and who can resist young star-crossed love.
The characters are also instantly lovable, and while the ending is a bit predictable, it all still hurts the same.
I feel like it was an accurate portrait of a teenage girl struggling with death. It made me cry and laugh. Loved it.
I'm not crying, you're crying. Don't look at me.
And loved it. It goes beyond the story of two kids with cancer. It's funny, charming, and beautifully tragic. A must read.
Guys, you really liked this book.
Yeah, a lot. It seems like across the board critically, it's highly rated, like 8.8 and above on most places that I've seen, and the response is genuinely positive.
Yeah, genuinely very positive. I kind of think it's one of those that I don't know how you can get so negative about it, because it's definitely a story that hasn't been told. You know, at least in my experience. So the plot is Hazel Grace Lancaster is a 16-year-old girl that is battling cancer.
Terminal cancer.
Terminal cancer.
She's got a little bit of a lease on life by a miracle drug that is shrinking her tumors and keeping them from growing. But she is living in a world where she knows she is not going to live as long as a young woman should.
Yeah, and she's also living in a world with cancer. Even just the simple thing of having oxygen on her constantly and having to battle oxygen because she can't necessarily breathe. So Hazel Grace Lancaster, who is in a group for cancer survivors or
her support group,
and she meets Augustus Waters, who is the dreamiest.
Oh, he's just so charming.
He's just so charming.
I might have even fallen in love.
Oh, you did fall in love with Augustus Waters.
Pretty sure I tweeted last night. It's official. I'm leaving my wife for Augustus Waters.
No, and it makes perfect sense because he is so dreamy, but he also is so dreamy in the light of Hazel, where they get along in the same sensibilities, and they have the same sensibilities of what this is that they're dealing with and what life is, and whether or not it is pragmatic and whether or not it is, there is life after death and this, that, and the other thing. And so it's basically their story of love through all these different events and all of their different little journeys together.
We're watching two people fall into each other in a beautiful way while dealing with worlds that make you feel alone. He's got cancer, he lost a leg. She's got cancer, she has a finite ending. And it's just, it's a roller coaster of emotions.
It's a roller coaster of emotions. But I think, more so than a love story, I think this is like a life and death story. Dealing with the end of the world and what is it when we have to deal with those complexities of what is next and what are we to this world and how do we leave a mark? It deals with so many bigger issues than just 16-year-olds falling in love. The beautiful thing about it is that John actually shows through love what life has to offer.
Even though your life can be short, it can be
full of it.
Really poignant and special moments. At the core, it is a love story.
It is a love story.
It is a romance novel of sorts. So let's jump into the main characters. And it seems like from your guys' point of view, Augustus is the main talking point. Both
I know.
And
we didn't
bad.
give any Hazel Grace talk points, but we definitely got a lot of Augustuses because he's so dreamy.
So let's jump into some Augustus tweets that you guys sent us. Like, in the beginning, Augustus is pretentious as shit. I realize that's the point, but it still bugged me.
Okay, all right, okay. I kind of hated it. It was just a douchey kid who said a bunch of pretentious things and acts like he knows everything. I think that's not necessarily true.
And head over heels for a fictitious character named Augustus Waters.
Oh,
So
see?
I get like one of the biggest problems that there's not a lot of them, but a lot of the biggest problems that a lot of readers tend to have with the book if they didn't like it is that these two characters came off as not normal teenagers. Their vocabulary was too big. Nobody talks like that in monologues and soliloquies. But I don't think that's necessarily true.
I don't think it's necessarily true
What I
either.
like about what John Green did with Augustus Waters and Hazel Grace is that he didn't dumb them down and he didn't talk down to them because
Yes.
they were teenagers.
Yes.
He provided them with a voice that was incredibly intelligent, and so what if it's maybe not incredibly accurate to how we think
Yeah. But again,
typical
I don't want to
teenagers
see.
are?
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things too. Where it's like I don't want to see the Bella and Edward love story of this sycophantic girl falling for this. This is a girl that from whatever age, maybe 12, 13, has dealt with the intensity of death. So I do think that her mind might be more intense on the
They're gonna
side
be a
of
little bit more-
pragmatism and all that.
They're gonna be a little bit more wise above their years.
Yes.
And why can't this story be, if you don't think they're typical, why can't the story be about two extraordinary people?
Well, and it's also one of those things of like, I know in my love life, it would be such a boring story because it would be 90% bits in the beginning. You know what I mean? Like so it was nice to see this, like, these two people where it wasn't about falling for him so hard because of this. It wasn't about hormones. It was about two people connecting on a level. And he had to make them alike. And so the alikeness was the fact that they were both dealing with this oblivion.
And he
know?
he was presenting himself with a level of confidence and cockiness
Yes.
that I found it was intriguing. It was appealing.
It was endearing.
Because
it was very endearing.
Because it was purposeful. He was doing it on
Yes.
purpose. He was very self-aware.
And there are parts of it too where you get like, he doesn't, I think, doesn't remain that intense throughout.
No.
Not by any means.
He's playing the game,
He's playing
yo.
the game. He's being that guy.
Get
He's
past the first
Swayze.
couple
You see this
chapters.
girl that's like Juno, and then you have to talk like Juno in order to get her hooked. You know? You have to be as Schwanksville and all that.
He's just playing the role. Sarah Perno says something that I think is very important about the theme of this book, and she says, it's really good, but it's also sad. But I like how Hazel and Gus aren't defined by their illnesses.
Yes.
And that is, I think, one of the main things that John was going for with the book was
Yeah.
focusing on, he called it the other. He was focusing on how society tends to treat people with illness as the
Yes.
others. And that they're different because they are dealing with something that we don't understand or don't have.
And even more are scared of.
Yeah,
I think
so
that's a big part of it is when you see someone, you know, that you're in a wheelchair even, you treat them differently, you look away. As a society, we really tend to treat people that we don't understand or that we can't define in that way.
So the best
You
part
know?
about the book is that it humanizes these people
Yes.
that are dying of a lung cancer, or they don't have a leg, or they lost their eyes,
Yeah.
and reminds us that they still have these stories that are not just tragic but also beautiful.
Yes, it humanizes them to that intense level.
They're dealing with the same stuff as you, but more.
Yeah.
Something that you talk about or have talked about with us before, dealing with your own
Yes.
health issues.
I
with your
cried
heart.
a lot in this book. So I will say if you do audible.com, don't do it in your car in 405 traffic because you're just going to be that girl crying in her Hyundai.
The tweet that I want to read, which I think is another great aspect of this story, and the feelings that Hazel is going through when she finds out that she's falling in love with Augustus,
Yes.
and why she is trying to push that away, comes from Chaos Lady 6, and she says, "My sister and I are 13 years apart and read and love this book. I know we both relate to it sometimes, feeling like a grenade."
Yes.
Would you like to care to
I
elaborate on
would.
that?
I mean, those words are. I've literally said those words before I even read this book. I've said those words to people that I love because when you're a sick kid, you feel like you're the wake. You're going to be the thing that is going to create the wake around you, and it's. I loved it so much because I found such a home in Hazel Grace because I'm going to cry and this is going to be very emotional. But no, it was very like, ugh, now he's going to hug him and cry. But it was very emotional in the sense that like. I found such a home in her of this, like, it's not about dying. I've died 4 times. I don't give a shit about that. I understand that is a relevant thing in my life and it will happen to all of us. My time would just be quicker. It was more about the mother that was sitting at my bedside 24/7, 365 who hadn't eaten yet that day. It was more about my brother and sister who were both aching and wanting me to stay around for memories. It was more about that. And it felt like it was just such a place of home for me and Hazel Grace, because I was like, finally, someone put my thoughts into words of what you care about the most, of just leaving these people behind. And you don't want people to fall in love with you, and you don't want to have severe friendships because you're worried that you're just gonna leave them behind.
That's what kind of amazed me about the book. A lot of people think some of the themes are over romanticized.
Yeah.
But I don't agree, because John, I feel like, came from a very sincere point with all the characters in the book. How Hazel felt about leaving her parents behind when she left. How as parents,
how you deal with that too.
How they would have tried to stay strong constantly, and the way that he made the father cry, I really appreciated that.
I did. How he always cried.
Isaac, he got into the head of how a best friend feels about his really close guy friend, and how hard it would be to lose that. And I don't think it was over romanticized, and I think all of their feelings and reactions and came from very genuine, real places.
Yeah, and it's even the giant fuck, when he's like, fuck, he lost his, it's like all these things where you feel that way. You just feel like, as a sick kid, you're like, I'm the burden. It's less about like, it's hard to be selfish because you see everyone around you. And I did really appreciate that about her, about the fact that she wasn't a selfish kid with a disease. She was this kid that was just trying to make it through for other people. And sometimes that's the only thing that keeps you going.
And that's why she connected so much to An Imperial Affliction, because you thought it was just a girl that really loved a story that kind of mirrored her existence, another story about a girl with cancer, but it was more about what she needed to know, what the mom was doing at the end of the book, after the book ended, because she needed to know that her mom could go on living after she ceased to exist. And that was a hard thing that she was dealing with. It was kind of the driving force through the book.
Yeah, I think he needed that force. I really do. I was really excited because I heard nothing really about it except for a whole bunch of people falling in love with it and loving the book. So it was nice for me to get surprised by it, to not expect it to go to these different places, to not expect this to happen. And I was lucky that I hadn't heard any spoilers about it, because it really did take me on this thing of like, is she gonna be okay through all of this?
All right, so final thoughts on the book. What was your overall experience with it?
My overall experience, I think that everyone has a piece of this that connects to them in one way or another, even if it's just connecting to dying. But for me, I was a sick kid growing up. I was a very, very, very ill kid. So this was, it was home. It was home for me in a character that I'd never connected to on a level like that before. I was in love with it. I loved what John did. I loved that he used it as a vehicle for these amazing characters that you don't get that much of, that even though they seemed pretentious, they were also just smart kids. And that was so nice to not have it be someone in love with a vampire and someone not. It was, and to be able to take something as simple as a love story and turn it into such a bigger story about life, death, existing in this world, and what we mean to each other. I thought that was really wonderful, and I would read it again, over and over.
So for me, I thought the book was witty, smart, beautiful. It amazes me how a 35-year-old man can effectively write for a 16-year-old girl.
Yes, for sure.
And the rest of her family and the world surrounding her. You pick it up, you can't put it down, and that's it's all you can really ask for in a book. And I cared about the characters, and when it was over, I wanted to know more. So
yeah, exactly. You wanted to know more, and I would read it over and over. I loved it. I found it. I'm excited that there's going to be a movie. That makes perfect sense to me, because again, it is a story that needs to be told. And yeah, I thought it was wonderful.
And I just want to end on one last tweet that we got, because I think this is important for a lot of those people that are out there that are saying things like, it doesn't talk about real cancer and it doesn't relate to people that are really going through it. I want to say from Sam Bino, says, The Fault in Our Stars is amazing. It captured the angsty part of having cancer perfectly. It helped me through my own cancer journey.
Ugh.
That's a book doing good things.
It's a book doing good things.
So thank you to John Green for sending in the clip. And if you guys want to participate in the next round of SourceFed Book Club, they're going to be reading The Hobbit.
Which is also a young adult book. Come on!
It's a really good love story. Pick it up.
It really is. Pick it up.
If you guys want to get a free book and participate with us, go to audible.com/sfnerd and pick yourself up
Yeah, a book.
a Hobbit book.
You can pick up a Hobbit book, or
Yeah.
you can, pick up whatever book you want, i.e. The Fault in Our Stars.
And then when you're done reading it, send us your reviews
Yeah, your
on the
reviews and
Twitters,
thoughts.
and you can also submit some video responses, and we'll get those in the book club shenanigans as well.
Yeah.
All right, bye?
Bye. I think it's bye.
It's bye?
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
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 Okay.